I think this picture of you teaching IED awareness to the Turkish National Police later in your law enforcement career is really cool. So, you know, in the Army, you got to work, I'm sure, with not just U.S. but coalition forces and
Yep.
partners for peace and whatnot. Here you are in Turkey. So, when you think about lifelong learning, Tom, how do you continue to learn and grow, or how have you done that through the
So
years?
yeah, I think I've always enjoyed learning, and I think more so as an adult than I did when I was in college, because I kind of felt, even though I believe in the education system, some of the you don't always get to learn and choose some of the topics that you like, but when you kind of get
Agreed.
into a career, yeah, you can kind of get into things that you're really interested in. And later on in life, I ended up getting into, after the Army, I spent a little bit of time in the corporate world in the credit card industries with Bank One, First USA, and then Capital One, but then ultimately really wanted to get back into government service. So I became an FBI agent. Uh, a few years into my FBI career, I raised my hand to become a public safety bomb technician. So I was a special agent bomb technician. And one of the great things about that role is that you can kind of choose to be as active as you like or travel as much as you like. And so we did a lot of international stuff, deployed to Afghanistan, Nigeria, and went to Senegal, spent some time in Turkey, as the previous picture was kind of mentioning. But in order to teach, you had to really become a student and really learn about those subjects as much as you can. So when it comes to IED awareness, you have to know a little bit about chemistry and electrical engineering and physics and all these other different things to be able to explain the topics in a way that makes sense to other people, and to be able to answer questions and have some amount of credibility. I think that was a big part of it. So for me, it's just having an interest in the topics and wanting to learn more and wanting to be able to explain to people everything that they might need to know about that particular subject.
So, man, you went from ranch hand essentially to this engineering student to Army ROTC to Medical Service Corps to corporate world working for credit card companies to law enforcement. Holy shnikes, Tom, your experience is
Yeah.
just really broad. So what called you to serve? Like, I understand the Army piece with your background, with your dad and your brother, and you obviously had a heart for public service, but why law enforcement? Why did, you're working for Capital One or one of these credit card companies, and you think to yourself, hey, I'm going to apply for the FBI? Like, what was what was that thought process?
Well, a lot of that went back to, I enjoyed working in the corporate industry, but it was different for me. It was a little bit of a hard adjustment to me. And like I said, even those were great corporations, it just wasn't something that was fulfilling for me. And so one of my great friends that I was in Army ROTC with at Montana State ended up, when he left the Army, he went directly into the FBI and was just telling me how much he enjoyed it, the challenge, and all the different things that he was doing. And so back in 2001, before 9/11, I started working on my applications for the FBI as well as the CIA, and neither one of them were hiring when I turned in my applications in July of 2001. And then in October 2001, just a couple weeks after 9/11, I started getting phone calls to come in and start going through the interview and evaluation process. And so that's um, and a lot of times, even though my friend did influence my decision quite a bit, just at that time, I was really interested in a lot of the, crime scene investigation and forensics, different and subjects like that. And like, you know what, for me, I'm not the type of person that wants to sit behind a desk all the time. And so maybe this is where I need to pivot and look to do something different. And so I was fortunate enough to get through the hiring process for the FBI, and started there in October of 2022 as a new agent trainee at Quantico. And then my first assignment was, it's similar to the Army. When you want to rank what you want to do in the FBI, you can rank your field offices where you want to go. And I was hoping to go back to the Northwest. I had Seattle, Portland, Denver, Salt Lake, and some other office in my top five. I ended up in Miami, which was actually ended up being a great assignment. I was a I was on a healthcare fraud squad. We had 2 squads in Miami, almost 30 agents that were just dedicated to healthcare fraud in Miami-Dade and Broward County. So that was
Wow.
my first assignment.